Hello, my name is Stephanie Veracruz, and the title of my research is Effect of an Intervention with Technology on Attitudes Toward its Use and the Early Algebra Learning. Early algebra is different from teaching formal algebra. It seeks to analyze relationships, generalizations, and regularities. It is also known as algebraic thinking or reasoning. On the other hand, in this research, the perceptions are understood as the ideas and conceptions about the teaching of mathematics supported with the use of technology. Regarding the research problem, we find that the results of national tests in Mexico classified the knowledge of mathematics in 4 levels. As can be seen in the graph, 64% are at level 1, 22% are at level 2, 9% are at level 3, and 5% are at level 4. Most of the students are in level 1, which is the lowest of all and denotes insufficiency. At this level, students cannot use equations, unknowns, or algebraic expressions. Regarding the use of technology, different investigations showed that teachers have a positive attitude. However, it is little used. This is due to the lack of knowledge of how to integrate it into their classes. The research methodology. The research had a quantitative, quasi-experimental design with a single group. The sample consisted of 8 elementary school students between 9 and 10 years old, and on the other hand, 18 student teachers, all of them from Montemorelos, Nuevo León, Mexico. 2 instruments were used for data collection. The first of them is titled Mathematics with Technology Perception Survey. It is made up of 12 Likert type scale items from 1 to 5 points, and they are grouped into 3 dimensions: attitude towards teaching mathematics with technology, subjective norm, and behavioral controls. The second questionnaire was the CDMRIE. This questionnaire measures mathematical and didactic knowledge of the student teachers on elementary algebraic reasoning. The activities were implemented with the 2 groups separately. We worked on learning early algebra with elementary students, and with the student teachers we worked on how to teach early algebra. 8 activities were designed using the spreadsheets. The name of the activities were numerical sequences, areas and perimeters, numbers comparisons, balance of numbers, intermediate numbers, and wholesale. And the duration was 2 weeks with each group. This is an example of Activity 5 titled Balance of Numbers, in which the elementary students had to establish the criteria and formulas that were necessary for the balance to automatically indicate whether or not it was in balance. In this activity, concepts of equations and unknowns were worked on. Regarding the research hypotheses, there were 3. The first of them, there is a significant difference in MTPS average score between the pre-test and post-test in the perception toward the use of technology in student teachers. The second one, there is a significant difference in CDMRAE average score between the pre-test and the post-test in the early algebra knowledge in student teachers. And the last one, there is a significant difference in CDMRAE average scores between the pre-test and the post-test in the early algebra knowledge in elementary students. Statistical results. To calculate the results of the perceptions, the items with a negative connotation were recorded, thus all of the data were interpreted in the same sense. Then, if the percentage is higher, the perception is better. In the pretest, the general perception obtained a percentage of 56% of the scale with a mean of 3.24. The percentage of the attitude dimension was 60 and a mean of 3.4. The percentage of subjective norm dimension was 52% and a mean of 3.09. And the percentage of the dimension behavioral controls was 52% and a mean of 3.16. These results show that the student teachers presented an almost neutral position regarding the use of technology in the teaching of mathematics. On the other hand, in the post-test, the general perception obtained a percentage of 72% of the scale with a mean of 3.57. The percentage of the attitude dimension was 82% and a mean of 4.26. The percentage of the subjective norm dimension was 60 and a mean of 3.40. And the percentage of the dimension behavioral controls was 68% and a mean of 3.72. As can be seen, the percentage of each dimension increases. Therefore, the perception of student teachers improved after the activities. The hypothesis that was tested was there is a significant difference in MTPS average score between the pre-test and the post-test in the perception toward the use of technology in student teachers, and the following results were obtained. The first thing that was done was to apply the Shapiro-Wilk normality test for the difference between the pre-test and the post-test, obtained a result of 0.054, which indicates a normal distribution. Then the student t-test was used for related samples. As can be seen, the p-value was less than 0.05, so the null hypothesis was rejected. The effect size, according to Coins-D, was 1.595, and the statistical power was 0.999. Regarding the algebraic knowledge of the student teachers, the average of the pre-test was 23 points, and in the post-test it increased the average to 53 points. This shows that the algebraic knowledge improved after the intervention. The hypothesis to be tested in this case was the following. There is a significant difference in CDMRAE average score between the pretest and the post-test in the early algebra knowledge in student teachers. The obtained results are shown next. The first thing that was done was to apply the Shapiro-Wilk normality test for the difference between the pretest and post-test, obtaining a result of 0.364, which indicates a normal distribution. Then, the student's t-test was used for related samples. As can be seen, the p-value was less than 0.05, so the null hypothesis was rejected. The effect size, according to Coins-D, was 1.520 and the statistical power was 0.999. Regarding the algebraic knowledge of elementary school students, the pretest average was 32.13 points, and in the post-test it increased the average to 71 points. This shows that algebraic knowledge improved after the intervention. The hypothesis to be tested in this case was the following. There is a significant difference in CDM-RAE average score between the pretest and the post-test in the early algebra knowledge in elementary students. In the results, the first thing that was done was to apply the Shapiro-Wilk normality test for the difference between the pretest and post-test, obtaining a result of 0.339, which indicates a normal distribution. Then, the student's t-test was used for related samples. As can be seen, the p-value was less than 0.05, so the null hypothesis was rejected. The effect size, according to Coins-D, was 3.570 and the statistical power was 1. The conclusions of the investigation were as follows. Spreadsheets support early algebra learning. There is openness by students, teachers to use technology. And one of the most perceived barriers was initial teacher training. Finally, for future research, the following recommendations are given. Extra training sessions for the use of technology, expand the repository of activities, and find solutions for elements that prevent technology from being incorporated. Thank you for your attention.